There is a type of person who seems to live in an eternal draft. Start a course, drop out halfway through. Starts a project with enthusiasm, but loses steam before finishing it. She promises herself that this time will be different, but, like a river that never reaches the sea, she always finds a new path to get lost. While the world celebrates achievements, medals, and finishes, they collect beginnings. And, although many judge them as irresponsible or lazy, the truth is that behind this apparent inability to conclude, there is a psychology that is as complex as it is fascinating. First of all, it must be said, there is nothing wrong with not finishing everything you start. Life is not a production line where each task must be completed within a strict deadline. Some people simply have a different rhythm, their own way of interacting with time and their own expectations. But if we look beyond the surface, we see that this pattern, which can seem chaotic, often hides deep fears, unresolved trauma, or even a peculiar form of genius. Imagine a child who, when trying to complete a puzzle, is constantly interrupted by his parents, who, impatient, end up doing it for him. Over time, she learns that starting is safe, but finishing is risky because it is at the end that the charge arrives, that errors become evident, that judgment appears. The brain then develops a protective mechanism. If I don't finish, I won't be judged. If I don't finish, I won't find out that maybe I'm not good enough. And so, the habit of letting go becomes armor against vulnerability. Another possibility is that these people are novelty seekers. For them, true pleasure is not in conquest, but in discovery. The beginning of a project is like the first chapter of a book, full of mystery, of infinite possibilities. But as soon as things start to become predictable, when the initial challenge gives way to routine, the interest wanes. It's not a lack of discipline, it's that your brain is driven by the dopamine of novelty, not the serotonin of completion. They are not quitters, they are explorers in a world that values destinations too much and journeys too little. And then there are those who fear success as much as they fear failure. Finishing something means exposing yourself to the world, assuming a place, being seen. What if it's good? What if expectations rise? What if it's not enough? For these people, the unfinished is a refuge. An unfinished project is a dream that can still be perfect in the imagination. Finishing is facing reality, with its imperfections and limitations. So, they get stuck in this limbo, where everything is still possible, but nothing is concrete. But it would be unfair to reduce this behavior to just fears or traumas. In some cases, it is a form of rebellion against a system that demands constant productivity. We live in an era where finishing is synonymous with value, diplomas, promotions, goals achieved. But what if some people simply refuse to play this game? What if, for them, the process is more important than the product? What if they are, in fact, learning more by abandoning than those who insist on completing at any cost? Think of a painter who leaves dozens of canvases unfinished. For the world, they are incomplete works. For him, they are experiments, rehearsals, dialogues with himself. Each abandonment is a lesson, each beginning a new chance to reinvent yourself. Maybe these people don't end because they are always becoming, and there is no room for full stops in a life that refuses to be static. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, no, you are neither lazy nor a failure. Maybe I just discovered that life is not a race to get somewhere, but a dance where the movement in itself is already grace. And if your unfinished projects are like seeds you plant without seeing them blossom, remember, some trees take decades to bear fruit. And yet no one calls them unproductive. The world will continue to applaud those who cross the finish line. But you, who live in beginnings, know a secret that few understand. Sometimes, the most courageous thing is not to finish, but to have the humility to start over. And if that makes you a lifelong learner, then perhaps you are unknowingly living the purest form of wisdom. If this text resonated with you, tell us in the comments, what was that project you started and never finished? What did he teach you, even unfinished? Share with those who also live between beginnings and restarts. And if you want more reflections like this, stick around because, after all, the best stories are the ones that are still being written. Until next time. Or rather, until the next start. What if your unfinished projects weren't failures, but maps? Imagine that each abandoned idea, each shelved draft, Each postponed dream is actually a point in an invisible atlas, not of lands, but of versions of you. That soap opera you started at 19 and never finished. Maybe it wasn't meant to be a book, but a portal to the person you would become at 25, when you finally understood that writing wasn't about publishing, but about unearthing truths that only fiction dares to name. The painting course you dropped in the third module? It wasn't a waste. It was 3 months in which his hands learned to see the world in colors that his eyes didn't yet know. Society calls this giving up. But what if it's editing? Like a director who cuts precious scenes from the film not because they're bad, but because the real story is elsewhere and only the process of filming them revealed that. You didn't abandon it. You pruned. And every pruning, even the most painful, is an act of faith in what is yet to be born. The myth of finishing as the supreme virtue. We were taught that completion is sacred, the diploma on the wall, the I do on the altar, the end in the manuscript. But life is not a to-do list, it's a workshop. And in workshops, things are left half-finished because they are being transformed into something else. That deal you closed after 2 years. Maybe it was the fertilizer for the garden you plant today. The relationship that ended in silence. It may have been the mirror that showed you that love is not synonymous with suffocation. The Greeks had 2 words for time, chronos, chronological time, which measures seconds, and kairos, the opportune moment, which does not obey clocks. Your unfinished projects live in kairos. They are not late. They are waiting for their right time, which could be 10 years from now, or never, or tomorrow, when you wake up with an idea that finally makes everything make sense. The courage to be almost. In a world obsessed with titles, businessman, mother, doctor, there is a silent rebellion in being an eternal almost artist, almost traveler, almost happy. Because the almost is where life breathes. It's the space between musical notes, the white space between the words of a poem. You are not an unfinished project. You are the person who dares to live between the lines. Think about nature. A tree doesn't blame itself for not bearing fruit in winter. A river is not ashamed of not reaching the sea in a straight line. You, who carry so many beginnings, are like them, part of a cycle that needs no justification. Your failures are actually signs that you are alive enough to try. And that, in a world where most people don't even dare to start, is the rarest form of success. What are your unfinished projects trying to tell you? 1. That romance you abandoned in Chapter 7. Maybe it wasn't about writing a book, but about discovering that you don't need happy endings to feel complete. 2. The business that failed before taking off. Maybe it was the universe's way of telling you, you are more than what you produce. You are what you learn. 3. The diet you gave up on for the 10th time. Maybe your body is asking you to stop fighting him and start listening to what he really needs. 4. The musical instrument you bought and barely played. Maybe it wasn't for you to dominate, but to remind you that beauty is also in the sound of mistakes. 5. The friendship that got lost along the way. Maybe it fulfilled its purpose, to show you that some people come into your life to teach you how to be enough. What if the true masterpiece is your ability to start over? Have you ever noticed how people applaud those who persist on the same path, but almost no one celebrates those who have the courage to change their path? As if loyalty to a project was more noble than honesty with oneself. But what if giving up is an act of integrity? What if letting go of something that no longer serves you is the highest form of self-knowledge? The Japanese have a concept called wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfect, incomplete, ephemeral things. A cracked teacup. A garden with dry leaves. A life full of beginnings and few endings. Your unfinished projects are your wabi-sabi. They are proof that you preferred being human to being a results machine. Your next step, and no, it's not finishing something. 1. Take up an abandoned project, one that still hurts a little. 2. Thank him for everything he taught you, even if it was just how not to do something. 3. Keep it as a relic, not a debt. You don't owe him anything. He's the one who owes you gratitude for creating him. 4. Start something new, not with the pressure of finishing, but with the curiosity of a child playing in the sand. If it becomes a castle, great. If it becomes just a memory, that's fine too. To reflect and respond in the comments. Which unfinished project do you miss the most, not because it failed, but because of what it represented? What did you learn about yourself in that process? If I could send you a message the day you quit, what would it say? Share this text with someone who also lives between beginnings and restarts. Because people who understand this are rare, and rarity deserves to be celebrated. Until next time. Or better yet, until the next start. Seedling. What nobody tells you about unfinished projects, and why they're your best teachers. Have you ever noticed how society loves happy endings, but real life is made up of drafts, pauses, and restarts? While everyone applauds those who cross the finish line, few talk about those who chose to give up, not out of weakness, but out of emotional intelligence. Because sometimes, letting go is an act of courage disguised as defeat. What if I told you that your unfinished projects are not failures, but maps? Each of them marks a place where you changed your mind, grew, or simply discovered that this was not the path. They are like scars. They prove that you dared to try, even without guarantees. The anatomy of a quitter, or why you're not a quitter, but a strategist. 1. The project you left behind wasn't a failure, it was an experiment. Science calls this trial and error learning. Life calls experience. Example: Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times when inventing the light bulb. He eliminated 1,000 paths that didn't work. Your unfinished projects are your 1,000 light bulbs going out, and that lights up more than you realize. 2. Giving up is not the opposite of persisting, it is its evolution. Blindly persisting in something that no longer makes sense is stubbornness. Knowing when to stop is wisdom. Key question: if I started this today, would it still be worth it? If the answer is no, congratulations, you've just saved yourself time, energy, and regret. 3. Your brain stores lessons where you only see incomplete. Each abandoned project taught you what not to do next time, what limits to respect, of time, resources, emotional energy. That changing your mind is not betraying yourself, it's getting to know yourself better. Metaphor: They are like the steps on a ladder that you climbed but no longer need. You don't carry them on your back, they are the ones who brought you this far. 4. The guilt you feel isn't about the project, it's about the narrative they invented for you. Society told you, finishing is success, giving up is failure. But the truth is, success is learning. Failure is repeating the same mistakes expecting different results. Phrase to repeat: I didn't give up. I redirected. What your unfinished projects are trying to tell you, and you're not listening. 1. You are no longer the same person who started this. That version of you that started that project has already transformed. And that's not a bad thing, it's evolution. Exercise: take an abandoned project and ask, what did I believe at the time that I now know is not true? The answer will surprise you. 2. That wasn't a priority, and that's okay. Sometimes, we start something because we thought we should, not because we really wanted to. Warning sign: if you feel relief when you remember that you gave up, it was a duty disguised as a desire. 3. You were protecting your energy. Unfinished projects can be shields. Your unconscious knew that path would drain you without retribution. Tough question: if I had finished this, what would I have lost in return? Time, health, other opportunities. 4. You've already gleaned what you needed from this experience. Sometimes, the project fulfilled its role before it was ready. Taught you a skill. Introduced you to important people. Showed you a limit you didn't know. Metaphor: like a seed that germinates, but does not become a tree. Even so, it fed the soil for what will come later. How to turn your unfinished into superpowers, practical step by step. 1. Take a dropout inventory. List 3 projects that you left behind and, next to each one, write: what did I learn? Even if it's never do that again. How did this prepare me for what comes now? Effect: you will see that no effort was in vain. 2. Create a symbolic closing ritual. Unfinished projects often take up mental space because we haven't had a fade out. Ideas: write a letter to the project thanking you, and burn or bury it. Make a playlist with songs that represent this phase and listen one last time. Transform leftovers from the project, notes, materials, into art or collage. 3. Use the 5-year rule. Ask, in 5 years, will this still matter? If the answer is no, release yourself today. If so, reevaluate why. 4. Start something new with the wisdom of abandonment. Next time, before starting, ask, why do I want this? No, because others think I should. What am I willing to sacrifice for this? Time, money, peace. What is my criteria for success here? Breaking up cannot be the only one. To reflect on, and respond in the comments, this time, in more depth. 1. What unfinished project defines you more than any success you've had? Yes, they shape us too. 2. If you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing the day you quit, what would it be? Hint, it's usually a compliment you didn't allow yourself at the time. 3. What would you do today if you knew you didn't have to finish everything you started? This answer could change your life. Share this text with someone who needs to hear that. Heavy checkmark giving up is not failing, it's editing your own story. Heavy checkmark unfinished projects are proof that you dared, and that's more than many people do. Heavy checkmark life is not about reaching the end, but about choosing your paths well. Until the next insight. Or better yet, until the next restart. Herb. P.S. If you saved this text, it's because something here resonated deeply. Keep it as a reminder for the days when guilt over unfinished business. Adu's knock on the door. You don't owe anyone satisfaction, not even your past projects. Continuation of the original text, expanded with engagement techniques. What if the problem isn't giving up, but the story you tell about it? Have you ever stopped to think that the blame for unfinished projects doesn't come from them, but from the script we repeat in our heads? I should have finished. Everyone can do it but me. That proves I'm weak. But what if those sentences were just lines from a script you didn't write? A script inherited from a society that glorifies finishing at any cost, as if life were a list of tasks and not a collection of experiments, mistakes, and restarts. The truth no one tells you about giving up. 1. Giving up is not the opposite of persisting, it is the B-side of the same coin. Persisting without purpose is stubbornness. Giving up with conscience is strategic intelligence. Example: a gardener does not water a dead plant just on principle. It redirects water to where there is life. 2. Your brain doesn't know quitting from failure, but you can retrain it. The pain of abandoning a project activates the same brain areas as social rejection. Yes, your brain thinks you are betraying yourself. Solution: replace I gave up with I reallocated energy. It's not semantics, it's neuroplasticity. 3. The projects you abandoned are your best teachers. They taught you what doesn't motivate you, and this is a valuable filter. Which skills are not yours, and this avoids years of frustration. That courage isn't just about moving forward, it's about knowing how to turn left. The exercise that will change your relationship with the unfinished. Do it now, with pen and paper. Not just mentally. 1. List 3 projects you abandoned, those that still hurt when you remember. 2. Next to each one, write: what did I learn from this? Even if it's I learned I hate spreadsheets. How did this prepare me for something better? X. I dropped out of law school and discovered my passion for design. 3. Now, cross out the word withdrawal and replace it with editing. Pivot. Route update. Side effect: you will realize that nothing was lost, only transformed. The question no one asks, but should. What if my greatest success was born from a giving up that I haven't yet recognized? Think. J.K. Rowling gave up being a teacher to write Harry Potter, after being rejected 12 times. Steve Jobs gave up on Apple in 1985, and returned to revolutionize it in 1997. Have you ever given up on something that, deep down, was taking you away from your true path? To reflect, and respond in the comments, this time, with brutal honesty. 1. Which unfinished project do you judge most about yourself? Write it down here. Sometimes, just putting it on paper makes the guilt go away. 2. If giving up was a superpower, how would you use it today? X. I would give up pleasing everyone to focus on what makes me happy. 3. What would you stop doing immediately if you knew that giving up was not failing? This answer could be your next turning point. Share this text with someone who needs to hear that. Heavy checkmark. Giving up is like pruning a tree. It hurts at the moment, but it is necessary to grow stronger. Heavy checkmark. Your failures are actually drafts, and every artist has crumpled pages before the masterpiece. Heavy checkmark. Life is not about finishing everything, but about having the courage to edit your own story. Until the next insight. Or better yet, until the next restart. P.S. Save this text in the To Read on Bad Days folder. Because the guilt for unfinished things always comes back, but now you have an antidote. P.P.S. If you've read this far, it's because something here touched you. Leave a red heart # in the comments, that way I know I'm not talking alone. And if you want more reflections like this, follow me and we'll continue this conversation. Why does this format work? 1. Deconstruction of beliefs. Imitators break the giving up equals failure pattern. 2. Practical exercises takes the reader out of passivity, they do something, not just consume. 3. Reference stories, Rowling, Jobs, social proof plus inspiration. 4. Wise friend tone empathy plus authority without being overbearing. 5. Emotional CTA. It's not just like and share, but an action with purpose, save for bad days. Tip to apply. Use visual metaphors, pruning a tree, artist sketches, to make abstract ideas tangible. Direct questions, what if, activate curiosity and internal dialogue. Short, punchy sentences in bold or italics create rhythm and emphasis. Next level. If you want to go deeper, create a series with this theme. 1. How to know when to give up, without guilt. 2. What your unfinished projects reveal about you. 3. The art of restarting, how to turn withdrawals into springboards. Guaranteed engagement, because everyone has a ghost project that haunts them. Ghost.